back in 2016, an actual spy. Let's bring in the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, Congressman Mark Meadows, who's been at the forefront of this investigation. Congressman, I mean, every day another shoe drops on this thing. What would you think this could possibly be? A spy, an informant? How do you see this?
Well, obviously, I don't know whether that's happened or not. I've read some of the reports. That would be in a classified setting if indeed that happened. But I can tell you, if there's any truth to it, even a small amount of truth to it, it's extremely troubling. You would have one administration allowing their FBI to infiltrate another candidate's campaign. That goes beyond Russia collusion. That's collusion that should send somebody to jail.
Could you imagine if President George W. Bush's Justice Department or FBI had an informant inside Barack Obama's presidential campaign?
Well, everybody would be going crazy, but you know, when we look at this, it's all about getting the truth, Jesse, and I applaud you for being willing to take this on, because we're getting stonewalled at each and every step of the way, and yet here we are today having to talk about the possibility. You know, if anything that was reported, you know, just yesterday was true, then we've got a number of other areas. I can tell you, I've seen enough documents that give me areas of concern that are not as large in scope as what has been reported within the last 24 hours. But indeed, we've got to make sure the American people see it, your viewers understand it.
Yeah, because you haven't gotten enough documents, because they've been stonewalling and foot dragging, because obviously there's something that they feel guilty about. And if Hillary had won this election, none of this abuse would have ever come to see the light of day. Also, coming to see the light of day, thanks to Judicial Watch, we now believe that James Comey, after he was fired as the FBI director, colluded with Mueller, the special prosecutor, about his testimony before the Senate committee. Do you think it's appropriate for the fired FBI director to talk to Robert Mueller, who's investigating why he was fired, to talk to each other and not to work on their testimony. But what we do know is Director Comey has gone on a charm offensive all over the country on this new book tour. Not very charming.
Well, and you're right, because what we're finding is the facts don't line up with his rhetoric. Right. And in fact, we're looking even at Congress that it appears there's a growing body of evidence that would suggest that he didn't give truthful testimony to Congress. So he may have a bigger problem than that. But when you look at the special counsel and you've got a person saying, well, let's get together so that we have the right testimony and before we go before Congress, that's inappropriate. Certainly is not something that should happen.
Totally inappropriate. And he was the basically chief witness in a obstruction of justice case. And he's now talking to the special counsel, his mentor of 10 years at the FBI. It doesn't look good. Lastly, you are trying to audit the Mueller probe. Why would you be doing that?
Well, I mean, here's the thing is the American people supported the Mueller probe when it looked at Russia collusion. But what we are starting to see is that a lot of it has nothing to do with Russia collusion. It actually goes other areas, and the judge just the other day pointed out a good point. Are they really going after it for political reasons, or are they trying to go after it for democratic reasons and making sure that our elections are strong? And so we believe, Congress, since we appropriate the funds, we need to make sure that those funds are being spent for collusion and not after a political witch hunt.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that, and I've always said this has been a witch hunt from the jump. It's been a frame job to lead to impeachment. We have not seen any evidence of collusion. I think the obstruction case is weak. The president wanted James Comey to look into potential colluders. James Comey said he was never obstructed, and the investigation went on after he was fired. 13 out of the 17 lawyers in Robert Mueller's probe are Democrats, not one Republican. It doesn't add up. I think it's time to wind down this investigation. What do you think the timing is of that?
Well, I think that over a year and a half we've been investigating it. What I would say, let's go ahead and wind it down. Either bring the charges or bring it to a halt. Enough is enough at this point. It's time to bring it to a close.
All right, I agree. You know, they can't beat the president at the ballot box, so they're trying to do it in the courtroom. But it makes sense if you're the Democratic Party. They have Pocahontas as the potential nominee. I'd probably do the same thing. Congressman, always the best.
Jesse, great to be with you.
Up next, a Watters World investigation into Stormy Daniels' attorney. Now, when you hear this, it's all going to start to make sense. Be right back.